Hello and welcome to Greenhill's virtual Open Gardens tour. As a result of the lockdown, many gardens have received more tender loving care this spring than ever before. And since our real Open Gardens event is not able to happen at the moment, we've put together this compilation of virtual garden tours from our neighbourhood. Most of these were recorded around the second week of June, except for the first one, which was filmed in mid-May. Here you'll find a wide range of gardening styles, but the one thing that they have in common is the pleasure that they bring to their owners. So here are some of the gardens you would have seen if the world had never heard of coronavirus.
Hello everyone, welcome to our plot at the top of Westwick Road. We're in a cul-de-sac and we've got quite a large portion of the circle. As you see, it's an unusual shape from the air. Some of the areas we're just tackling this year, so they won't be finished. My son helped with quite a lot of the garden structure, the pergolas and the stone walls and the rockeries, so we're fairly lucky to have some help. We have a little drone by our other son who's going to take you around the garden. The area of light grass is where we used to have a hosta bed. And this area here we've just cut out recently, and this was taken 2 weeks ago and already it's beginning to really fill up. We've got lots of plants in the greenhouse ready to go in the spaces if there are any left, and already you can see it's looking quite healthy. We've put RHS clematis on the new arches, and this area is the back of the garage. I love this area. It's very old-fashioned colouring, changes throughout the year, and the raised bed does enable me to do a bit of gardening sitting down. Chris has put a new trellis on the back of the wall to take a clematis. I love clematis, we've got quite a lot. These are the hostas that we took out of the bed near the hedge, and since we put them in pots, they've really come on a treat. We hardly have any slugs, and the few that we do get, I eradicate quite quickly. Just kept one azalea, this one, which has come on a treat because of all the wet winter we've been having. And we do keep the little the tree in the pot. As long as you feed them well, they're all right in pots. To the right, we've got a pond, which used to be a bomb shelter, a really substantial bomb shelter. And it's looking a bit bleak at the moment because we've been, redoing all the plants and taking out the weeds. This is another bit of Matthew's handiwork, the little raised bed around the seating area. This is one of the rockeries on one side of the hut. And this is the one on the right. We found that putting smaller plants in works well, especially with the hedge at the back, because it's forever needing trimming. Some things we've taken out this year, as you see, and we've cut things down. We shall alter as we need. Greenhouse with its, packets from goodness knows when, but most things are coming. Most things are taken root, so we'll be able to fill this garden with all of the new plants. One of my favourite areas, looking over the whole of the garden. We hope to see you soon. We haven't shown it you all.
Hello and welcome to our garden. As you can see as I approach is a lovely glaucous coloured silver green leafed plant called Thalictrum that has beautiful fluffy lilac flowers. They haven't flowered yet, of course, it's coming into bloom. Behind it and right up at the top of the rhododendron flowers, which are just going over, soft pinks, bright pinks, lilacs and whites. And in front of that at the bottom, a very bright yellow honeysuckle called Sensation. As we come down, you can see potted through this very vibrant pink geranium called Patricia with a black eye. That is potted through the garden on and off. And at the front of the border are several peonies. The red ones have gone over, and in between and growing through all these are different irises. This is Iris sibirica, which are just coming to the end of their flowering time, and a Sarah Bernhardt peony coming into flower. Hopefully, that is if the rain hasn't dashed it. Another peony, and underneath all these peonies I have herbs for the kitchen growing: thyme, hyssop, chives, marjoram, and an azalea. Beautiful azalea, pink azalea in a pot with verbena. Allow that to grow through, it's self-seeded in there. And Acanthus mollis, otherwise known as bear's breeches, which have wonderful spikes late summer. They can flower right through to October, November. That's an evergreen plant. Verbena again. The bees aren't out today on anything. Buxus, and a low-growing form of iris, the stinking iris. Very, very pretty. And they're just coming into flower now. They were known in medieval times, had medicinal properties that healed wounds of splinters and so on. Here's the very pink geranium, bright pink geranium Patricia that we saw earlier on. In this garden we have a lot of Himalayan plants. Underneath a tree, Edgeworthy-eyed Chrysanthemum grandiflora, Himalayan tree, paper bark tree. And the flowers grow straight off the bark in about February. Wonderful for the bees. They hang down like bells and smell absolutely heavenly. Now that the flowers have gone, this Selena is growing through. It has a very inflated calyx, and related of course to the Bladdercampion family. Behind are Phlomis, other Himalayan plants coming into flower, but they are mainly green or green at the moment. The Himalayan monks of course made paper out of this tree, the Himalayan paper bark tree, and then wrote their holy scripts on it. Underneath here, more peonies. There's another hidden geranium underneath there, and I've just seen a bee clinging underneath the plant. It's too dark for me to home in on it. Ahead of me are Liguillaria, spikes of Liguillaria, verbena, and foxglove that are self-seeded. And underneath here are Camilla mollis, not everybody's favourite, but it's a lovely foil for all the other colours in the garden. In the rhododendron bushes there's a blackbird's nest this year, which is rather lovely. We have euphorbia coming up, wonderful lime green spikes in the summer, arum going over, and another shrub that I don't know the name of, I apologise. This is another geranium, which bees love, and a peony lactifolia, white wings, done very, very well even in spite of the rain, although the rain is dashing all their petals now. Another geranium here, white, that the bees did love, going over. And these iris, different to the other ones, and many purple iris. This is called Flight of Butterflies. They're lovely. They've been very, very pretty. Hebe, which is just coming into flower, which would be great when all the other plants have gone over for the bees. Stachys plant, which are going over. The bees love that too. Solitary digitalis, self-seeded. Japanese anemone. And moving over here are 3 skegs, which were made by Lila Viner after I went to a reindeer making course with her willow course. the white-flowered opulus, viburnum opulus. Don't see many bees around there. Coming into the foreground, euphorbia and another buxus. Moving up across the lawn on the left is the castor tree, Japanese castor tree. In the middle is amelanchier, the juneberry, and to the right in the lawn is the snowberry. And across the lawn there is lots of ferns and woodland flowers. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome to our garden in Bradway. The house has been in our family for over 5 decades. My parents, Derek and Sheila Holbury, spent many years creating this garden. We hoped they would approve the changes we have made. The house was built in 1790 and is Grade 2 listed. We opened the garden for the National Garden Scheme and Greenhill Community Library. If the R number is reduced, we shall open as a pop-up in the evening at the end of the summer with wine and food for the benefit of the library. If you are able to make a donation towards the running of the library, that would be most appreciated. Visit our Facebook page, A Yorkshire Cottage Garden, for details and to follow the progress of the garden. Last year, we planted 250 native bulbs in the front lawn, which look fantastic in the spring. We are not mowing the lawn at the front this year, as we want to see what emerges, before we scarify and sow with native wildflower seeds. We are in the process of making the whole of the garden more attractive to insect pollinators and wildlife in general. The auricular theatre would normally display primula auriculas. However, these only flower in the spring, so we change them for alpines and succulents, which should flower until September. The vegetable garden was slightly challenging this spring as we had a late hard frost, but everything seems to have pulled through and is now romping away. The step-over apples were planted about 20 years ago by my late mother and are now complemented by 6 fruit trees we planted in the lawn 2 years ago. Our old Sussex Star hens are a recent addition and came from a farm in West Yorkshire. They are now christened the 6 Destroying Angels. As everyone knows, slugs love a hosta, and we have the national collection of slugs due to the dry stone walls. So we now grow a variety of hostas in pots raised off the ground. It seems to be working extremely well. We're coming to the cottage end of the garden, which was originally the piggery, then became a garage, which we converted into a cottage 7 years ago. This is normally where the hens live. We re-fenced this section last winter with willow wattle hurdles, cut and made on the Somerset levels. We hope you have enjoyed this virtual tour of our garden, and we look forward to seeing you at the end of the summer.
Good day everyone. Today is 1st of June 2020. Welcome to my virtual garden. I started this garden 22 years ago when this part was full of nettles and weeds. I never stopped cultivating, nurturing, and make it look like a garden. And right up to this moment. I have planted some apples and cherry trees. My garden consists of a variety of different plants like wisteria and other perennials. My garden is a bit of what you call a whimsical garden. So, I name it Fairyland. Fairyland, the real magic comes at night. Enjoy and see you next year. Bye!
Hi, hello. This is my clematis. It's got a trampoline base to support it, which creates this sort of this effect. And there's the front garden there, which I've let grow massively wild so that the bees and things have things to eat. Clematis stretches the whole length of the house. It's just one plant. And then we've got a back garden as well. One of the main things about the back garden is this mint here, which is in a bath, as you can see, which grows really well in there and doesn't need any attention and comes up. It's one of the first things that comes up, and is, yeah, really good thing to drink. I'd like to tell you about every single thing in the garden, but one of the main successes this year is growing turnips, which I've never tried before, but I wanted to do an easy vegetable to get a sense of accomplishment. This is a little kind of sensory bit with the shading, so it's lovely light. And then there's more vegetables here, and then the pond, which is a little bit overrun with flag irises at the moment, but they're actually spreading to the soil, which I've never seen before. I think it must be that damp that they think it's a pond. So yeah, there's geraniums which attract the bees. I've left as many of them as I can. I'm probably going to lose this silver birch tree because it's taking a lot of light, and we can't really accommodate 2 trees in the back here. And and then just further on down, we've got I've made a, I don't know if you can see that, it's just like a bed of a little river bed here, which I've put marigolds and poppies in. I'm really pleased this is growing, this sorrel, because I transported that from a pot according to Monty Don's advice. This rose has been here for 45 years. That was planted by the tenant before me, and I've put another rose in here when my dad died, which is yellow, and that contrasts really nicely with the pink, and reminds me of him because that was his favourite colour. That's about it. Bye.
Hi, I'm Wendy, and I'd like to show you the favourite bits of my garden here on Westwick Road. During the winter I prepared for and had installed this shed greenhouse, which involved removing about 1 metre of this flower bed here, which I then had to plant up. I didn't really have any particular plan for it, but as lockdown started, just as I was getting to grips with it, then that made up my mind, and I just used what I had, what I'd moved out, and there we go. And it's okay, it's worked out quite well. Also, just before lockdown started, our fence blew down at the bottom and we had to have a new fence, and which was about the Monday before lockdown happened. I had all sorts of plans for the bottom of the garden which had got totally wrecked through the installations, etc. But again, I had to make do with what I'd got, and again, it's worked out okay. I had plans for a shady garden in this corner, which is actually looking shady now, but in fact is mostly in full sun, so I might have to rethink that. I also, just using bricks in the garden, built this sort of little garden around a tree that I've got here. It's very dry but seems to be working out okay at the moment. Right, moving round, this is on the shadier side of the garden. Again, it's quite sunny at the moment, but these are one of my beautiful astrantias, which are one of my favourite plants. And then at the moment I have a profusion of self-seeded aquilegia, which I absolutely love. Once they're over, then there's not a lot in this bed. I have got a few hydrangeas which I've been struggling to keep going through all this dry weather, but I think they're all right. Following this garden round past the aquilegias, we come to this Sister Salvifolii, which is a white rock rose. It says, I've just read that it says that this enjoys very sunny, dry conditions. It's actually in quite a shady spot, but doesn't really seem to mind that, so don't be put off if you fancy getting it. It's beautiful. This is part of the garden that I just let go, really. So this has got grasses and wild flowers and all sorts in it. Again, this is very shady, so the normal wildflowers don't grow great here, but I quite like the grasses anyway. And I have a climbing rose just here, which again doesn't really seem to mind the conditions too much. This is what I call my sunshine garden. It's not really come into bloom just yet. It's better in 2 or 3 weeks' time. But I have got this beautiful, something I can't remember the name of, sorry, which is just a complete magnet for bees. It's always covered in bees, so that's a bonus. And I bought this, it was just one spike a couple of years ago, and it's done really well this year. On to the pond now, which I've had terrible problems with blanket weed and algae this year, I think because the sun was so early. But the planting around it's quite nice, particularly the Erigeron or Mexican fleabane, which is another of my favourite ever plants because it just grows anywhere, flowers from May till about November, and is just a complete riot of colour. Here I have a pergola which will shortly have a pink rambling rose and honeysuckle, but not quite out yet. This is another quite shady piece of the garden. Got this beautiful climbing rose. So again, I'm not sure, it's a David Austin one, but I'm not sure what sort it is. But it's doing very well this year. I don't think it's in an ideal spot, but it's doing okay. Some more of the astrantias that, as I say, I love, and they don't seem to mind any conditions, so they're fantastic. And I have a huge amount of Welsh poppies, which some people consider weeds, but I just love them, so I just let them go, really. Another view of the pond. The flags are just coming out, which are lovely. I tried to get a sort of wildish impression around the pond. It's again worked out okay, and some more rigor on. And that's about it, really. Thanks for watching. Cheers. Bye.
Welcome to my front garden. It's the 15th of June and it's about 6:30 in the evening. And the way through is very full with pots, including one here of peas, the rest of various types of squashes, including crown prince that I'm trying to grow outside this year. Over here we've got a selection of salad herbs, lettuces, oric, some thyme as well, and also some pak choy. This is spinach, which I'm allowing to go to seed. I'm going to actually collect the seed this year, see if that works. More squashes. Honeysuckle. Lovely, lovely sweet smell. The rigor on Carvinskianus. Mexican fleabane, very pretty. Long lasting daisy, that one. Tiarella cordifolia, really lovely plant. And this is Phuopsis stylosa, which is a really good plant, popular with pollinators, but it does like to take over, so best planted in the shade. Over here we have corn cockle, and it might look quite innocuous, it's actually poisonous. The seed comes in a packet marked poison. Rubascum chaxi that hasn't flowered, just on the left, with a pink yarrow just here. Millifolium. And there's lots of bee activity on this. See if I can find one of them. I can hear them. Oh, here's one. Yeah, very popular this evening. And over here we have Nautia Macedonia, really beautiful colour, and behind this there's Geum Totally Tangerine that's just going over, really lovely plant. And there's plenty of bees on the Circeum rivulari Archeropurpureum, quite a mouthful, but it's a big plant. And down here there's a yellow hypericum. We've got a visitor here too. And over here we've got a selection of astrantias. Now they all came from the seed packet and they're all supposed to be red. As you can see, there are lots of different colours. There's a little bee just over there. Was in these gorgeous yellow foxgloves not long ago. You can just see a bee disappearing into the flow mist Russelliana there. Just about. It's very small. And over here we've got Achillea millefolium. This is moonshine, has silvery foliage and these incredibly sulphur yellow flowers. A real attraction for the hoverflies. That's a pigeon you can hear in the background, big fat wood pigeon. This is Sanguisorba, I forget which one, and Centaurea Geordie. Like the other Centaurea montana, it's very popular with insects. And over here we've got flowers of bistort, common bistort or Persicaria bistorta. Just going over now. They've been flowering a very long time. And down here, got the tiny little thrift plants, gorgeous little red flowers. So I've only just moved these from an area where they weren't getting quite enough sun, so I hope they're going to clump out here next couple of years maybe. And then we go through the raspberry area, which is growing straight out my sage. This is where the garden gets a little bit wilder. More flow mist. An honourable mention, if I can get close enough, for this lovely little white geranium, which is Geranium macrorhizum whiteness. And over here we've got some Luzula nivea, the snowy wood rush, not native but it's related to a native species, and some Campion Silene dioica. Buy some ferns, and then I'm going to end on this note. The really pretty flowers of the Lathyrus, or the everlasting pea, which is currently crawling all over my garden in the shady patch, which is interesting because it's supposed to be a sunny plant, but it does very well here underneath the shade of a big ash tree.
So that's it. Many thanks to our video contributors Chris and Lynne, John and Jennie, Jane and John, Joe and Mike, Lisa, Wendy and Fran. We hope you've enjoyed watching, and we look forward to running a real garden event at some time, so please keep an eye on our Facebook page and our website.